Hi, Joe.
Hey, Sonia, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. As you can tell by my background, I'm
Yeah,
at a
you're
hotel
on
while
location.
we're recording this. This is the best part about being virtual is you can
hmm
record anywhere.
Yeah,
So
it's
in a
awesome.
hotel, I'm going to a goals retreat this weekend. So yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
beautiful Lake Vegas.
So tell us about the goal retreat that you're at. I know it's put out by real estate guys. I've been on that retreat before. It's very powerful and very deep. Deep.
That's what I'm hoping for because
Yeah.
I haven't been to it yet. I was going to go 2 years ago. And then when I didn't go, I was really I was so mad at myself almost. So I made a commitment to go this year. And I even changed my flight because
Yeah.
we had a major snowstorm today. So if I would have left
Okay.
the day like normal, it was canceled. So I'm really glad I changed. Smart thinking ahead
Oh,
at the end of
yeah.
the night. So the
You're
goals
meant
retreat is
to
always
be.
about, finding clarity, finding vision for your
Mhm.
life and getting right with your spiritual, financial, physical, everything that goes along with your
Yeah.
life. So if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't have that in your life, I'm not sure how people can move forward. So
Yeah,
I'm,
we're very goal oriented people, aren't we?
we are,
Yeah.
and you
Can't
have
live
to have goals
without it.
to move forward. So I do apologize with the bed, the bed in the background.
It's okay. I'm really lazy about making my bed, especially at a hotel. So totally excused.
I am the same way, and I didn't leave. And it's so funny because being here, I'm 2 hours behind my regular time zone. So
Oh, okay.
me and texting me at 8 a.m. their time, 6 a.m. my time. So I've been up and I've been lazy.
Oh, well, you're totally excused. You're at a hotel. That's what it's supposed to be. Well, without further ado, today we decided we're going to talk about some basic elements about taking out a loan for investment properties.
Absolutely.
And Joe's been a mortgage broker in her past life, amongst her many many career steps and faces and roles. So she told me that a lot of people have lots of questions about some of the basic things about loan process, and it could be kind of an intimidating procedure. So we're going to talk about that and hit some of the basic points.
Yeah, because not only mortgage loan, I've been a realtor and I've been a property manager.
Yeah,
So I've
you've
kind
been
of done
everything.
the whole
Yeah.
gamut of everything.
Yeah. And when you get into real estate, you end up running the gamut of everything. It's just
You do.
the nature of the beast.
Yep,
And
you
and
do.
it gives you great experience though. So the more roles you take on, try it, the more you're gonna learn.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
that's how we
So
learn by doing it. I mean, that's
oh,
what
that is the only way I know how to learn. So yeah, for sure.
I have to be like almost hands-on. People can
Yeah.
tell me what to do, but unless I actually do it, then
Exactly.
I learn.
I know, Wayne, one year out the other. Doing it is way more fun anyway.
I think so.
Yeah.
Kind of gives you something to look forward to.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So tell us, you want to get us started on some of the basic things about loan? Like, what should we talk about first?
Yeah. So what I really talked about people about is know your credit score. It
Okay.
seems really simple, but
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people that maybe don't even know what their credit score is. And so I say you can always go on and get your free credit score, and you can
Mm-hmm.
go. So there's three major reporting bureaus, and it is Experian.com, TransUnion.com, and Equifax.com. And I think we have a slide for that. And then also you can go to Credit Karma. So Credit Karma is, I said with a K, Karma, but you can get your free credit reports from there. And definitely, especially with these free services now, go on and know what your credit report is. Now,
Okay.
Credit Karma is good. However, what I found recently is maybe, and this will be benefit for all of us, is their reporting might be a little bit lower than what a bank actually shows. So just know that with Credit Karma, it might not be completely right. So that's why always good to go to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, since they are the major reporting agencies.
Okay. So important to know your credit score, and these are the places you can go to very easily obtain your credit score and know what that score is. Right, Joe?
Absolutely. The scoring, your credit score is the most major important thing you need to know. And then after that, and you can get the free reports, and that's the best
Mm-hmm.
part, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, you know, before in the past, we always had to pay for it or whatever, but you could just go to these and get your free
Yeah.
report. It's so
Very easy.
beneficial. Yeah.
Very easy and very fast too.
Absolutely. So I would have no problem giving all these my information because I've done it and I still do it. And yeah, and then they'll pop up. So, and then the
Okay.
next thing to know is your debt to income ratio. So how much debt do you have compared to what your income is? Now, for some people, this might be pretty basic, but for some people, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really figure out, if you have credit card debt, the best thing to do is start paying some of that down so you can start investing and really get into more investment properties. So
Mm-hmm.
really get to know your debt to income ratio, or maybe you've been kind of on the fence about asking your boss for a raise if you're, employed.
Uh-huh.
Since I have to ask
That was a
myself,
good time.
since I'm self-employed.
Mhm. That's right. This will be a good time to ask for that raise. So you have a lower debt to income ratio, right?
There you go. Yep.
And unlike the debt to income, you want a high credit score. So what are some of the ranges that's considered pretty good and you shouldn't have problems getting loans with?
Really 720 and above, especially if this is going to be an investment home, a second home, basically. So 720 and above. I know some banks, if you're with a credit union, I've heard some will go as low as 680, but I don't recommend that. I recommend 7 to 720 and above. And
Okay.
really, that's going to get you into a better range anyways, and a better interest rate.
Yeah, you don't have to have 800 or above. People think that
No.
they have to have a perfect credit score, but high 700s is great. I don't think I've ever gone over 700s myself because it matters how much debt you have, and of
Right.
course, I always have a lot of debt.
Mm-hmm.
But it does affect your rate. Sometimes you have to
Right.
pay a little more if your credit score isn't as good, but you
Right.
can still
And
get a
and
loan.
the higher your credit score, the lower interest rate you get, which is
Right.
phenomenal. And the more you can afford. That's the best
The
part.
the
The lower
rates
interest
nowadays
rate,
are
the more you can
amazing,
afford.
so it's a good
Yes.
time to take advantage of loans.
Yeah, and right now, pretty much the interest rates are still pretty decent. So
Mhm.
you definitely, and that's been that way for a while. So you definitely want to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yay. And then the next thing really is find an investment you can afford. So if you're just wanting to do your local area, which a lot of people, they feel more comfortable that way.
Mhm.
So some people will buy right in their own neighborhood, or they'll buy in their town, or they'll buy
Right.
within, depending on how big their city is. But find an investment you can afford. If
Right.
you go out, do your research, what we call that driving for dollars. You drive
Mhm.
around, or now, of course, you can go on the internet and find a bunch of them, but
Yeah.
really find an investment that you can afford, that you feel comfortable with. So really, this is for first timers or even second or third time. Make sure that that's something you can afford. And then also with investment property, you're going to have to put a down payment down, which normally is 20%. So
Mhm.
definitely figure out the down payment you can afford. The more you're prepared when you go talk to your mortgage loan officer, the better off
Mhm.
you're going
Yeah, your financial plan and your investment plan. So
to.
that's important to
Absolutely.
have in hand when you go to apply for a loan.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Sonia
Okay,
and I know this very,
so what's that?
I said, Sonia and I know this very well.
Yeah, we do. All right. So where do you go get a loan? We talked about you being a mortgage broker. So there's mortgage brokers who are people who may go to multiple source of loans, and they may deal with Bank of America, Wells Fargo, multiple banks, and then they can find a program that works for you. Or you
Hmm.
could go directly to a lender, to the bank that you bank with, maybe. Or local credit unions might do local investment loans too. But
Yeah,
there are many, many sources.
absolutely. And you know what? I would actually, if you're going to go, unless you have one that you really fully trust and you
Hmm.
want to do business with them,
Hmm.
shop around a little bit, because this is what they do. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
their life. This is their livelihood. But you know what? You don't have to say yes. If you don't feel comfortable dealing
right,
with that person, or they're making you feel intimidated,
yeah,
walk away. You
mm,
don't need it. You don't
yeah,
need their grief.
yeah, yeah.
But there's so many, there are a dime a dozen. So you can
Yeah, and
walk around.
loan brokers, they throw out a lot of terms and they move fast, they talk fast, but doesn't mean you should take it as given.
Right.
Make sure you ask for questions. If you don't understand something, don't sign on anything you don't understand. That's a very bad habit to get into.
Yes, it is.
So make sure you ask. If you don't understand what a term is, just ask. And
Yeah. And
hopefully they can give you an answer. And if not, come home and look it up on the internet. There's answers everywhere.
absolutely. And, even if you're interested, there's so many Facebook groups now about investing. And,
Mhm.
there's also RIAs, they're called REIAs, and that's kind of getting above and beyond. But those are Real Estate Investment Association groups. I mean, get involved with some of those because they can also help you because they're also learning.
Mhm.
But I mean, they're teaching.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
just don't get intimidated because there's so much knowledge out there. I know
Yeah.
for me, when I first started, I was like,
Mhm.
I know some, and I was even in the business, but I know some of
Yeah.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
I went and talked to different people, and there were some I would never do business with, and others
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll do business with you. Now, I will tell you, my local credit union
Mhm.
does not do investment properties, does
Yeah,
not do
some banks
commercial property,
won't. Right. Some
but they
banks
were
will
happy to
not
refer me
make.
to somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, and then they were right, exactly. They have colleagues or people they work with. They can refer you to. And some banks will not do residential loans. Some banks will
Hmm.
not do commercial loans. Some banks will not do anything above 10 units. Some banks will not do any land lending. So
Hmm.
every lender has their own appetite, and so you
Yep.
definitely have to get shop around and ask, and don't get upset about being turned down, because you probably will find another lender with a different appetite for your
Hmm.
investment property and profile.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick example of that. Probably 3 years ago, when I was getting my master's degree several years ago, one of the guys in there was a mortgage loan officer. So I went to him and I said, okay, look, I want to buy this property. And he's like, Joe, your credit score is stellar, but we just can't get you approved. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you talking
Why?
about? And he
Hmm.
goes, just our loan rules. And I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was so mad at him. Guess he talked all this big hype and, oh yeah, no problem, no problem,
Yeah.
But based on debt to income, and I'm
Yeah.
self-employed.
Yeah,
So
that's
he's
a
like,
big one.
sorry, we can't. I went down to the next bank, 2 blocks down, didn't know him, but I was
Mhm.
referred to them by somebody. I was approved and signed within 30 days.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
really different. Yeah, that
it
goes to
is.
tell you.
Each
Yeah,
bank is so different. Again, I
very
listened to his
different.
hype. I was like, he's like, no problem, we'll get you, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
I, I I get a really bad gut feeling about stuff like that. And it just
Yeah,
really irritated me. So trust
we
me, it
all
happens all
do.
the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens all the time. I have a couple of smaller properties in my neighborhood, not too far from where I live. And I know that some of those properties and areas are really unknown to some of the other outside lenders, because it might be low income. In some blocks, there's higher crime rates. So some banks will not touch it, but there's a local bank, they'll do it all day long because they know that area. They know it's a great rental income area, and they're very familiar. So it's really easy for them. And their loan committee is very willing to lend on those properties. So again, everybody's appetite is different. So you just have to shop around and ask
Yeah. Just,
questions.
I kind of equate it to a doctor. Your general practitioner can do just enough stuff, but doesn't want to get too specialized. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
the other specialized doctors that you're going to go to for whatever health
Mm-hmm.
reason you have, kind of the same way with,
Yeah.
mortgage loan officers.
Yeah.
Some, like
Exactly.
Sonia said, some are more specialized in areas and others aren't. So definitely
Yeah.
shop around.
Yeah, and so there goes to the next point is they're gonna wanna share your success. So you just want to align your interest and look for the lender that understands what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they don't want a bad review either.
Yeah.
So they only want good reviews. So we shouldn't, I feel like I'm kind of bad mouthing the mortgage loan officers, but they're really not. They're just doing their job.
Yeah, they're just doing their job, and the more transactions they cover, the more income they make. So you understand where they're coming from,
Right.
but you got to cover your um, uh, points too.
Right. And I always say you're number one, your finances are number one. They just have to come to that conclusion that you're number one as well.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that you see on the screen here that the lender will probably want to know in addition to your credit score. We covered debt versus income ratio. Do you want to talk about some of the other points that the lender may ask of you as a borrower?
Sure. So personal finances, especially if you're self-employed, you really have to go in and show, well, first of all, your income. And most of them will realize that when you're self-employed, not maybe everything is taken into
Yeah.
account,
Yeah.
appreciated out. So they know how to go ahead and add that back in. Your personal finances, again, that's whatever kind of money you have coming in and whatever money you have going out. So if you've got a couple car loans, maybe you've got some student loans, maybe you've got those kind of things, it's all going to go into that debt versus income ratio. And then if you have other investment property, which hopefully you have income from it, or use it as collateral, which I've done many times, it's they're going to take that into account as well.
Yeah,
So
and that's
definitely go ahead and add that in if that's something that you need to make the loan work.
Yeah, and all of this is going to come out on your credit report generally, or tax return they may ask of you. So the best thing to do is understand what's going to come out. And if you have an issue, be ready to explain it. Or if you have an asset, like a paid off collateral property, like I know you do, Joe. Joe has some land properties that she doesn't have debt, and she often uses it as a collateral to get other loans, which is a great tool to have in her toolbox.
Yep.
So you just want to present the best story possible for yourself, know what's going to come out, and use the characters to your best advantage by having the good story or having a story you can tell.
Well, and I loved what you said, Sonia. Just tell them if you have something negative or whatever is going on or something has happened, just be honest.
Totally.
They've seen, trust me, they've seen everything. So you telling them something is not, trust me, will not surprise them unless they're brand new into the business.
Yeah.
But
And
better.
Right. And they will ask you about it, and then you could tell them what happened. And then sometimes you have to write a letter. Oh, that happened, and that's why this came out on my credit report. I've had to do that kind of stuff many, many times. So it doesn't mean you can't get the loan. It just means you have to have an explanation for it.
Right. Yep. Same way.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the costs for the loan. Now, not every loan is the same. They're actually very, very different. And now this is a point that actually personally drives me crazy, because everyone thinks that 30-year fixed is the best loan always. And that's so not the case. 30-year fixed loan, when people refer to it as 30-year fixed, means that your rate is fixed for the term of the loan, which is in this case 30 years. You could have a 25-year fixed loan too, but generally residential loans are over 30 years term. So you have a 30-year term loan. So yeah, it's great. You have a low rate right now, and that rate might be fixed for 30 years. But the reason why I say don't everybody go for that 30-year fix is because you don't need a 30-year fixed loan if you're going to sell that property within 30 years. Or more importantly, you'll probably want to refinance that loan at some point, way less than 30 years. I mean, the point is to increase your equity and then unlock that equity by refinancing it, which means when the property value goes up, you could get a bigger loan and then pay off the smaller loan, and then you get the equity out of that property. And then you could get another property. I mean, that's how you build your portfolio. So why would you pay a higher cost, usually in terms of higher rate and higher fees? Why would you get a 30-year loan? So you have to think about what your plan is for your property and get the appropriate loan that works for you.
Right. And what you can afford and what your goal is for that property.
Yeah, and exactly. Sometimes 30-year loan, 15-year loans, they have a higher payment, and it may not work with your financial plan.
Right.
So you have to think about that.
And for some, I don't mind a 15-year loan because I want to pay it down quicker. And then I'm able to, but that's only if I can afford it. And then I'm able to grab that equity out sooner and then pay it toward other things. So it all depends. It's so personal to everybody, like what your financial plan is.
Yeah,
So like coming
exactly.
to events like I'm at today, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn so much. Matter of fact, we're going to go out and look at some property this afternoon before our meeting tonight.
Ooh.
So
Oh, really?
yeah, so I'm going to learn
Fun
even
stuff.
more about what other people are
Mhm.
doing with their investments. So it's just great.
Oh yeah, and that's the best part about, you brought up the point of joining your meetup groups or other people who are interested. Sharing
Mhm.
information is so vital, of course,
Yes.
which is why Joe and I are doing this in the first place.
Yep.
We have information that's vital to other people, and then when we go out and talk to other people, we learn something new all the time.
Hmm.
And this is such a great way to learn, and frankly, the only way to learn, because we don't learn well by reading books or anything. So talk to people and share knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you can tell people about it, the better it is for you. Because sometimes when we verbalize it, it
Mhm.
even makes more sense, or maybe it doesn't make quite as good a sense.
Right,
So
right.
verbalize it, tell people what you want, and then just try to make it work. I mean, that's
Yeah,
all I say. Just make it
yeah,
work. If you're in a
exactly.
part of the country, because I'm in the Midwest, so
Uh-huh.
sometimes in parts of the country, we're in small town USA, maybe the numbers don't make sense there.
Yeah, yeah,
You need to like reach out maybe a little bit farther. I've had properties as far as an hour or two away, or even a country away.
yeah.
So it just depends on where you feel comfortable investing at.
Right, right. And in my case, I'm in the Bay Area, where the entry house is 1.5 million, medium price or something like that. So that might not fit your financial plan of first investment home too, if you're aiming for a residential house. So
Right,
think
and
about
ours in
that.
my local area is about 300,000 now for
Oh, yeah.
beginner home.
And
We're at
I know that if you go out to say Indianapolis or Indiana, you could buy a investment home for 50,000 or maybe even less. Maybe you don't want to. I don't know what kind of condition that house would be in, but
yeah.
it's possible. So
And that used to be that used to be where I'm at too. It used to be that way probably 10, 15 years ago. It's just not that way anymore,
mhm.
because where I'm at, we're in the number one school district of the state. We're, the
Yeah.
biggest city, those type of things. But because I'm in South Dakota,
Mhm.
but there's so many little towns around
Mhm.
that little towns, maybe you could probably get them for 100,000. In the town I'm at, 300,000. So again, it just
Hmm.
depends on where you're at.
Yeah, and probably 10 or 15 years later, those little towns might also be 300,000. You just never know. You
Yeah,
have to pick your cities. If you pick the right city area, that definitely does happen quite a bit.
absolutely. So tell us
Um,
about loan points, because I know you're more of an expert in loan points than I ever was.
Well, loan points are confusing. I think it confuses people because
Hmm.
it's a form of a fee. So it's an upfront fee that you have to pay to the lender. Sometimes they
Hmm.
charge a half point or point. It's compensation for the loan broker sometimes, so you can't avoid it. But sometimes they give you a choice.
Hmm.
They give you
Yeah.
a choice that if you pay 2 points, then your rate will be blank, which usually is less than something if you would pay 1 point. So then you say, "Huh, what is that about? What's a better term for me?"
Hmm.
Well, you think about, so basically, loan point is a way to bite down, reduce the loan rate for the duration of the loan, or
Hmm.
the fixed term of the loan. And you just have to do the math. If I pay a point now, my rate might go down by 50 basis points for the
Hmm.
next 10 years, say.
Hmm.
And if you know that you're not going to refinance or hold or sell that property, then it probably is worth it. The loan
Right.
point now is going to be less costly than the savings that you have, or it'll be worth the savings that you have for the next 5, 10 years or what have you. But
Right.
you're buying a property because you're going to fix it up and flip it in within 2 years. Well, then it's not worth it. It's not paying
Right.
something upfront so that you can have a long-term benefit of the
Hmm.
rate reduction. So
Right.
that's what you need to think about with loan points. Sometimes I think if you go to a mortgage broker as opposed to the lender directly, the loan points might be a little higher because there's more people to pay. Um, but that's just some of the specific cases.
Right.
One thing I want to explain too also is that people sometimes confuse term of the loan versus the period by which the rate is fixed. So
Oh,
again,
yep.
when I go back to the 30-year fixed loan
Mm-hmm.
is not the same as 30-year term loan.
Mm-hmm.
So adjustable rate loan, say you have a 7-year adjustable loan, that means the rate will adjust in 7 years. You know, you'll have
Mm-hmm.
it fixed for 7 years, and then it'll fluctuate based on what the market rate is after 7 years. But that loan is not due in 7 years. It's due in 25 or 30 or whatever the term of the loan is.
Right.
So I wanted to clarify that, because when we talk about rates and adjustables, I think people get sometimes confused that with the term of the loan, which is when the loan comes due.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Do you like adjustable rate mortgages?
I love adjustable rate
Oh,
mortgages.
do you? Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more why. Because I've only had one in my life and I didn't
Hmm.
like it.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to tell me why. But the reason I like it is because I never go beyond 5 or 7 years before I refinance or sell.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I like getting the equity out of the
Mm-hmm.
property without selling. I mean, you know, the long selling or not selling is your preference and your strategy. But
Mm-hmm.
I like getting the equity out, because with that equity, I could expand my portfolio.
Absolutely.
So I just never see the point of getting a loan that's beyond 5, 7 year adjustable, because I know that I'll try to do something with that equity that builds up over that time.
Very good. The only reason I've only had one adjustable rate mortgage, and that was
Mm-hmm.
back right when the crash was going to hit.
Mm-hmm.
2000, we refinanced in 2005, and the crash hit in 2008.
Uh-huh.
And was not able to refinance it, and the
Oh,
interest rate went sky high, and so
oh,
yeah,
yes,
that
yes.
took a while to recover from. But that's my only really experience with adjustable rate mortgages.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you definitely have to think about the circumstances
hmm
and the environment with the time when the just or the fixed rate expires.
yeah,
You know,
because we
if
did turn that
you,
house into an investment property.
mhm.
We moved and we rented it out, and then we were definitely not. The rent was not being covered. Put it that way. The
Yeah,
rent didn't
yeah, you
cover the
know that
mortgage note.
that is something really carefully to consider is, are you going to be able to get a new loan at the same rate or even lower in 3, 5, 7 years when the fixed rate term ends?
Right.
So yes, it's a very important point. So sorry that didn't work out for you.
Yeah,
That's
and
all.
again, we were brand new into our investing. This is when my late husband was still alive. We were brand new into
Mm,
our investing. We weren't as prepared as I
mhm,
am
mhm,
now.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it's just stuff that you learn. It's just
Yeah,
stuff that we learn
exactly,
as we go along. And to me,
exactly.
it's exciting, but yet it's at that part. That one was frustrating. But we learned,
Yeah,
we made it. We found
yeah,
it was
yeah,
fine. We were
yeah,
eventually refinanced. It was great, but
yeah.
it just took a while to get there.
Yeah, and then that's like you said, you just learn and live and move
Yeah,
on.
that's
But we're
right.
talking about it here as much as possible so you don't make that mistake, though, because it is
Right.
painful when you're enduring it. So
It is
hopefully
painful.
we're helping people here by talking
Yeah.
about our mistakes and
Right.
our,
And the thing is, and I also want to point out, don't let fear stop you. Because if fear
yeah,
stopped Sonia and I mean, we wouldn't be here teaching this. So definitely don't let fear stop you. The more knowledge you have, the better. And this is another reason why we're bringing this to you guys,
yeah,
or
exactly.
ladies, or all the above.
Exactly. So yeah, our point is to really encourage people to talk about it and not be intimidated, because it's a very emotional roller coaster to invest in
Mm-hmm.
real estate. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
it is, but it's exhilarating,
I
it's
know.
devastating, it's scary, it's so many things. And
And
so
why is that? I don't know why that is either, but I tell you what, I get on this high and I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I love going out looking
oh
at
yeah.
properties. Like when we go out and look this afternoon, I'm like, oh, I can't wait.
Oh yeah, people love looking at real estate, but
Yeah,
it's exciting because the potential is very exciting. Owning something is
exactly.
exciting, but then it
Exactly.
comes with a host of duties, which is very intimidating. You're not sure if you're doing the right thing, so that could be really scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a big investment. It's not like buying a share of Apple. You know, it's
Right.
not something you put in a couple $100s and start trying it. So I think that's
Right.
probably one of the reasons why it's so scary.
Yeah, it's not as an easy barrier to entry or exit.
Right.
It's going
Right.
to take time. It takes time to do your due diligence at the beginning, during the middle, and at the end. So it's not something that's easy to get into or easy to get out of.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually recently had a lunch meeting with a group of women who are really interested in investing in real estate. And these are very accomplished women. And we were talking about the same thing. I mean, they worked at hedge funds, they started companies, they work at big companies leading other people. But investing in real estate is really emotional and scary. And that's exactly the thing we were talking about there too. So it's everybody. It's not just you.
Right.
It's everybody.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know,
there
like
will
we
be
said,
some sleepless nights. I guarantee that. I guarantee it.
but that kind of makes it,
lot.
exhilarating too in its own sense, I think.
Yeah. You know, I can't sleep in first rain of the season. That's just my life now.
Oh.
I know there's got to be a leak somewhere, and some construction site needs to get covered up. And I used to build custom homes here in the Bay Area, and I can never sleep now on the first rain of the season because
Isn't that crazy?
Experience. Yes. So no pain, no gain though.
Yeah. And in South Dakota, we still build even though it's snowing out.
Yeah. I find
the other
that
day
incredible.
I was driving around and I'm like, it's snowing and there's still building going on. But that's whatever part of the country you're in, that you have to adjust for the weather too. So
yeah, for sure.
We still build that. That's just, you know, we're hardy stock, I say.
Yeah, that we're fair weather over here in California. We're like, oh, it's drizzling. There's cars spinning out and construction stops and leaks everywhere. So
that's funny. Yeah, we're hardy stock.
So, yeah. Well, so I think our point here today is really negotiate, talk to people, don't be afraid to ask questions, and
right.
your emotions, whether it's up, down, sideways, it's all very normal. So
right.
Don't
and definitely join different groups. Join your local REIA, which is REIA, which is Real Estate Investment Association. Join different Facebook groups that you feel comfortable with, and you don't have to participate. You can also just watch and learn. But make sure you feel comfortable in the group. And with Facebook, everything's free, so you can just jump in and out if you don't like it. But I would definitely do that. And again, like we say here, research and investigate, because there's never enough knowledge. I mean, you can never have enough because you're always learning something every day.
Right. Yep. So with that too, we are always here. We'd love to answer questions or comments you may have. So please email us with questions, and we'll address those questions on our next show.
Yes.
And we would love to be able to help you. So don't be afraid to ask, and hopefully we can have lots of lively discussions.
Yes, absolutely. And Sonia, thank you so much. Thank you for accommodating me today while I'm at the hotel.
Oh,
and
of course.
I'm going to go look at real estate this afternoon.
Oh, how fun. I wanna hear what you see. Be sure to let me know.
I will let you know. And then I'm going to a goals retreat this weekend, which is something I've been, like I said at the beginning of the show, been wanting to come to forever. So I'm really excited. Yay.
Yeah. You'll discover a lot. It's an interesting experience for sure. So I can't wait to hear about it once you're finished.
Good. Well, I'm excited.
Okay. Well, have a wonderful
take care until
time.
next week.
Thank you. Till next week. Bye.
Yeah, you too.